Hello and welcome to The Late Shift. My name is Val and I'm joined with
James.
And also Joe, but no Saul.
We are a member down.
A member and a half.
Yes.
I'm walking wounded. Hold your concern, listeners. It's only bronchitis. And I have the best drugs that the country I'm in can provide. If I sound doped, I am.
But look on the bright side, at least maybe at the end of this podcast we won't be quite so spooked as we usually are, seeing as nobody's here to read us creepypastas.
Yeah, I might actually be able to sleep tonight.
That is actually why we lost Saul. Someone sent him a small email and it was like one of those really encrypted, mysterious files you get sent. And at first he thought it was a virus, but it said, this is the creepiest creepypasta ever written.
Oh, he's now chasing leads to bring that to us.
Couldn't work out the encryption, so
Same.
naturally he called Tom Hanks. And they're off in Rome at the moment.
They
Trying
are.
to get into the Vatican.
That seems fair.
Turns out Leonardo da Vinci wrote the creepiest creepypasta, and last I heard, they're pretty close to cracking it. I didn't ask too many questions because Saul didn't tell me that there was going to be a roaming cost to the phone call. So he sent me a message being like, can you call? And I called him and we talked for about an hour. He told me the leads and Tom Hanks' general appearance and smell and what it was like to top and tail in a bed with him.
Because of course they're saving money.
They are saving money. For
Not on
Clue.
phone calls, though.
No, that's why he asked me to call him. And then he told me that I'd be dealing with the whopping bill. So we're not on good terms.
But hopefully it'll be worth it.
Hopefully.
The creepiest creepypasta.
So that's something our listeners have to look forward to, is an original Leonardo da Vinci creepypasta.
No pressure, Saul.
But speaking of the great masters in history, today we'll be talking about a very exceptional man named Harry Houdini, who was, of course, well known for being the best, providing the public with never-ending tricks, usually involving some sort of sleight of hand or features in his props.
Very long-winded way of saying magician. Are you writing his CV?
I am writing his CV as we speak. Well, I suppose Harry Houdini is an important figure amongst magicians because the shows that he put on relied perhaps less on tricks or illusions, but primarily exploiting the weaknesses of particular props. They were big things, the things that Dynamo's desperately trying to do while looking severely depressed, or Chris Angel for that matter.
Do you know who either of those people are?
They're American stage magicians.
I don't know if I'd take them over Darren Brown though.
Oh, Darren Brown made people think they were in the zombie apocalypse. That was completely and utterly a lie of paid actors. Darren Brown truly convinced a person that he was in a zombie apocalypse.
Do you remember when he won the lottery, supposedly?
Did he?
I don't know who pays him to...
Well, clearly the man won the lottery. I mean,
Yeah.
finances itself.
No, it's just that he always puts on these shows that make big promises and don't quite deliver whilst delivering. It's a bit weird. It's kind of like he always gets by on a technicality, which is not something that Harry Houdini did. By 1926, Harry Houdini was already a well-established magician and made a career of touring and showcasing his stunts. And on this day, he attempted one of his biggest ones yet, where he spent 91 minutes in a coffin underwater. Since then, there have been speculation whether there was some sort of trick that allowed him to breathe for that long, but it turned out that he just trained himself to be able to withstand being in a coffin in water for 91 minutes. He practiced for weeks to regulate his breathing, taking shallow breaths in the hopes of conserving oxygen in this airtight container. And the reason he did it is because in July of that year, a magician called Raman Bey performed a stunt that rivaled any of his. So basically he was enclosed in a metal box and was submerged in a swimming pool in the New York's Dalton Hotel, and after an hour his assistants pulled him out. Bey directly challenged Houdini and he was like, "Houdini, I challenge you, try me, mate." And Houdini didn't just try him. He was not satisfied until he was able to surpass that time by a significant amount, because in his first trials he was quite comfortably able to stay underwater for 70 minutes before giving the signal to be let out. He ended up performing this stunt in front of many journalists in New York. He entered a metal casket of his own. His whole reputation was at stake at this point because he was so publicly challenged by his rival. According to Mullen, his casket was wired with a buzzer so he could press it in case of emergency. So it wasn't like he was completely risking his life. He made all the possible arrangements to make sure that it would be as safe as possible. So there was like a telephone line equivalent inside the casket that he could press, and his assistant, James Collins, called down every few minutes to inform him how much time had passed, because of course being in an airtight, dark container, it's very difficult to notice the passage of time. He was able to stay in there for a whole of 91 minutes, which is the longest that he had ever done before. And because it was such a success, he had actually consulted with a Dr. McConnell, who was a former surgeon at the US Bureau of Mines, who researched survival techniques for trapped miners. And McConnell was present for the stunt. And a few hours after freeing himself, Houdini typed him a detailed letter basically describing what he had that morning and things like that, because, of course, it hadn't been done by another human being before. And I thought it was quite interesting that for breakfast, he had a fruit salad and half a cup of coffee.
Big breakfast.
Big breakfast. I've got a quote from him describing what it felt like. He said, after 1 hour and 28 minutes, I commenced to see yellow lights and carefully watched myself not to go to sleep. I kept my eyes wide open, moved on the broad of my back so as not to take all the weight off my lungs. My left arm was across my chest. I laid on my right side, my left buttock against the coffin so that I could keep the telephone receiver against my ear without holding it. Do you think you'd be able to do that? Do you think you could do a Houdini for 91 minutes?
No.
Not my current state, no.
I could hold my breath, I reckon, for roughly...
30 seconds.
Well, he's not holding his breath, though. He's breathing very shallow.
That's something that divers do. They hyperventilate.
It's free diving. Making the most of the oxygen that you have.
There are people who live, I think it's the South Sea Islands.
Yeah.
This particular tribe has an insane lung capacity.
Really?
Because where they get most of their food is from fishing in reefs. They spearfish without diving equipment. So some of these guys can dive for half an hour at a time.
Oh my god.
So they have a higher than average lung capacity.
That kind of stuff always makes me think we're just not doing enough with the bodies we've been given. When I think that somebody could do such a ridiculous thing or like defy the very nature of being a mammal, it's crazy. I actually didn't know a lot about Houdini before I'd read this, and I'm surprised that he tried to attempt something so crazy at the age of 52.
He
52.
died.
He died months later, and
He drowned, I think.
no, it wasn't that. So actually, contrary to popular belief, as seen in his autobiographies, he didn't actually drown in one of his stunts. Because it's such a dramatic thing to display, a lot of the films made about him show him basically being axed out of this container, but that's not what happened. Apparently what happened is that he was doing a tour and he met with this gentleman who had drawn a picture of him, and he was so impressed with the picture that he'd done of him that he invited him backstage to do a proper portrait of him later on. And this gentleman, the sketcher, basically brought in his friend who was also really interested in Houdini's work, and while the sketcher was working, his friend was asking Houdini all kinds of questions. And one of the questions that came up is the claim that Houdini could take a punch in the stomach and not suffer at all for it. So basically he didn't feel any pain there, which is something that kids in primary school do quite a lot when they go, oh, punch me in the stomach, which is obviously where the technique comes from. And supposedly this guy asked Houdini whether he could test this theory and punched him in the stomach. They finished the sketch. Houdini then complained of discomfort later on in the evening, so much so that his wife began to panic. And when they were on the train, she called for a doctor to meet them at the hotel. Unfortunately, the train was delayed at their next destination, which meant that they had to go straight to the venue, to the theatre. And when he was in the theatre, he began to feel really, really poorly. And towards the third act, he basically had to completely relinquish any performing to his assistants. The doctor arrived and said that he had an acute case of appendicitis, and there was a liquid that basically spread around his body that began to poison him. And that supposedly it was because of this abdominal punch. However, people have theorized whether or not this guy who was in the dressing room with him had actually asked him beforehand. It's never resulted in such a thing, where somebody had punched him in the stomach and it resulted in his imminent death.
Well, it is an event that tends to only happen once.
The one time, yeah, of course. It was a stunt that had been tested many, many times.
So the suggestion was that this guy had said, can I punch him in the stomach? And punch him in the stomach before
rather than waiting, yeah. There were some talks about whether or not this guy was actually an amateur boxer, because the punch would have had to be substantially traumatic in order to create such a thing, because it's so unlikely. And people who have studied appendicitis in detail still judge this to be quite improbable. There were even some talks about the fact that Houdini got into trouble with a lot of spiritualists and mediums, because if you didn't know this about him, although he made a living of being a magician, he was vehemently against people who came into towns with claims of being able to commune with the dead, of being able to travel across different realms, and he actually spent a lot of his fortune investing in training policemen in detecting con men who were pretending to be spiritualists and things like that. And because of that, he got himself a really bad reputation with those people. He even put forward bets of something like ridiculous sums, like $100,000s to basically find one person who is real because he was such a skeptic about the people who claim to know the supernatural. There was a theory at the time of his death that they had poisoned him by some means. Of course, now knowing what we know about appendicitis, it was very likely that it was just that.
Notoriously, spiritualists are such a assassination
Community, absolutely.
community. I mean, they're so competent in the arts of murder.
The only organisation that the American Mafia truly fears is the American Union of Mediums.
Yeah, and horoscopes. It's like, like the kiss of death for mafiosos. Like, Fat Tony's in his penthouse and he flips open the newspaper and he goes to the horoscopes and it's like, Pisces, Fat Tony gonna die tonight. And he's like, and he puts it down. They're coming for me.
Is there playing something innocent like Scrabble and he looks down and he spells out, you will die. And
yeah.
This is no Ouija board at all.
When I was organising TED Talks at my university, I actually got to speak to somebody who was I don't know if ordained is the correct term, but basically...
No, ordained is for priests.
He was part of a secret society of magicians.
I think it's called the Circle of Magic or something.
Yeah, it's called something like the Circle of Magic, and they're incredibly exclusive. Whereas you never hear about things like that for spiritualists.
The spiritualists already know about it. Because if you don't already know about it, then you're not powerful enough to get into the spiritualist club.
Yeah, they just talk to each other through all their dead friends.
They walk in one day and I want to join your club, and they're like, we didn't broadcast that. I know, but I know, because I'm psychic. Ah, welcome to the club.
Lots of people lying to each other in a room. It's great.
That's a weird thing.
But I'm just jealous because they had Skype for thousands of years. It's a network of dead couriers.
Never mind the sensates of the world
Oh.
who've had each other.
Oh, the wee Scottish man.
The wee Scottish man said, we sensate have had Google for years. And they're like, yeah, but it was very opinionated Google. Because obviously if you're connected to a person, it's still their personal opinion.
It's kind of like playing Chinese whispers but around the world.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is on information.
Yeah, but can you imagine?
If you're not connected to anyone well read.
Yeah, but can you imagine, Johnny, you're like,
Fucked.
how do I get out wine stains from my clothing? In comes some Chinese housewife, and she's like, "Oh, you get extract of this root," and you're there like, "I live in England," and she's like, "Oh, you fucked then." Just disappears again.
When you're asking dead people what to do, they're telling you what they did 300 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a really bad cold. Leeches, definitely.
Leeches, and put a chicken on your head and sitting in an open sewer. I'm a doctor. You can trust me.
But even the Romans had some really stupid ideas for medicine.
The Victorians are trepanning. Because of that, I have a headache. Drill a hole in your head. No, Doctor.
I think it was more like, you're experiencing so much pain that you kind of just want it out. Like, when you're in so much pain because you've got such a huge headache that you just want to hurt yourself just to
put
feel
a spike
something different.
right through my face.
Yeah.
Do you know that there was an insane fatality rate for Victorian trepannings because obviously you get infections in the brain? But if you got it done in the jungles in New Guinea, the fatality rate was something like 10% versus 90% if you got it done by these New Guinea shamans.
Really?
Yeah, and they did it with sharp stones and stuff, but the fatality rate was so much lower.
I wonder if it's because the ceremony of doing that, they introduced some sort of antiseptic.
It might be. There might have just been
things.
something in the jungle that they used as a painkiller.
Well, it's also the fact the brain feels no pain, so it's very difficult to know when something's wrong with it.
And also Victorian doctors are notoriously unhygienic people. Like, you see today, doctors will wear scrubs and gloves, and they obsess about cleaning themselves up to the elbow. They don't touch anything until they're in the operating theatre. Now, Victorian doctors just showed up in the suit they wore off the street.
Yeah.
Took the hat off, no gloves, facial hair, no mouth guard, anything, just street clothes, and would just run around your guts, and you wonder why you had such high infections.
You don't know what kind of E. coli he's got in his
Also,
hands.
giving the spirits for advice, you're going to get so many opinions of an era that doesn't exist anymore. And I'm thinking of going on holiday, and they're like, well, you can't go to Republican France, can you? Not with what they're doing. And they're like, no, France is not that way anymore. It's like, why not go to Ceylon or Rhodesia? You're like, again, neither exist anymore.
I mean, why are you asking for opinions from your dead relatives?
What else are you going to do with a Ouija board? We're going to ask, how are you? Dead. Yeah. Is it okay?
Do you think they're particularly opinionated? Because obviously, if you look at the way the gift of psychic ability or medium powers and spiritualist kind of connections have been presented in the media, it's a very rare thing. So these spirits only have a handful of people they really get to talk to. So that's why they're so opinionated about where you go on holiday, because they have to kind of come with you and talk to you there.
Oh, yeah. I never thought I'd see myself in the Indias.
I just think, you could only use the Ouija board if you are literate.
Yeah.
And the people you're talking to are also literate.
Yeah, can you imagine if you get a medieval peasant?
Oh, yeah, Bob the pig farmer.
Yeah. How are you, Bob? It's moved to K. And now it's moved... That's not even a letter, Bob. That's some of the...
He just likes those shapes.
K-U. I don't know what he's trying to say. No, it's going off the board now. Oh, we've made him... Are you insecure, Bob? Yeah, he's gone. And why do they always speak modern English?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's answering in Latin, that's not...
Oh dear. This one's answering in, High Germanic. You've got a Holchmeister of the Teutonic Order here.
I don't think they even have the same rooms.
No.
We're going to commune with some ancient spirit of Templar Order with a QWERTY keyboard. Really? That's what you're going to use? It's like, they don't know that.
And we always assume that they're being serious. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like you get like a little...
You think on the other end
They're
there's
always
like...
honest, always serious, and always incredibly
You think
dramatic.
on the other end there's like 5 ghosts sat around like essentially the receiver from the Ouija board being like, telling me smells.
Tell him his house is an Indian burial ground. But I thought the story of Houdini's death is probably
Yeah, no,
just as
because
interesting.
I genuinely thought he drowned.
I remember being told that part of it was that everywhere he went, he encouraged people to punch him in the stomach. So it was more like every time he did the stunt, he was accruing damage to his appendix. Damaging a disease is a difficult thing to do.
Unless you're an antibiotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was quite interesting. And through reading about his death, you got to realise how much people around him, how much care he inspired in them, because everybody seemed to fret over him and think of him as a very special person. And
Punch him repeatedly in the stomach.
no, in the sense that like his assistants were so worried for him, and one of his assistants held him in such great regard that after his death he went to speak at various universities about the illness that Houdini had and things like that, and his wife obviously cared a lot about him, that when he was like, I'm a bit uncomfortable, she was like, call the doctor right now.
The risk of sounding really cynical. I mean, I'm sure some people who around him did really love him and care for him. But I imagine there are a few people like, I can't let my cash cow die. Like, what am I going to do? Like, it's so much money
right now,
to
I'm
work with.
Houdini's
It's very
assistant.
easy to love internationally famous celebrities, isn't it?
I suppose it's a lot more fun being Houdini's assistant than being Greg.
I thought you were going to say it's a lot easier being Houdini's assistant than being Houdini. It's like, I just get paid to stand on stage while the mad fucker locks himself in a box for hours.
But I imagine that if you're part of a magician's crew like Houdini, and
get
he's always
major
doing...
puss.
Just slides over the contract, taps the major puss thing. It's like, no financial reward.
I'm saying you have to like a magician if you're constantly responsible for his life.
Yeah, that's probably he probably was extra
were
nice
probably
to his
very
assistant.
close.
So it was like,
Yeah.
fucking let the dickhead drown. Okay.
Yeah. After this show, Billy, you're fired. Now tie me in these manacles and throw me in that water. Yeah, I'm gonna tie them. I'm gonna tie them real fucking tight, Mr. Houdini.
Just before he kicks him into the pool, it's like, Billy, the key.
The key!
What I find particularly fascinating about Houdini is that considering the time in which he was operating, he could very easily have pretended to be a person who was connected to the supernatural, but his whole thing was that, look at this trick, it's really impressive, I'm a really cool person, but it's got nothing to do with the fact that I have some sort of supernatural connection, or like I have a magic that helps me escape.
There are a lot of magicians, especially, I'd say, in the modern era, who are very, very kind of sceptical and atheists. Like, it's a lot like magic is being increasingly pulled apart
it's like a stuntman thing.
Yeah, it's illusion and trickery. It's not witchcraft and spells and magic and, psychic Amy can teleport herself through walls if she thinks
Otherwise,
real
we'd burn
hard.
them at the stake.
I think they, at least to mainstream opinions, such people as in the latter group are considered charlatans, whereas magicians are obviously, not to be horrible, are charlatans by trade. They are tricking the audience, but the whole point is that it is a trick, and we are aware of it. Whereas obviously Psychic Amy, who's knocking the table with her knee, is going, that's your dead loved one who's actually telling you, pay Psychic Amy more money. Whereas the magicians are like trying to wow the audience.
Yeah, there's a self-awareness, because it's always like, oh, you never revealed the trick.
Yeah,
Because people know it's a trick.
Well, I think in our heart of hearts, we always want to believe in the supernatural because it gives life a mystery.
No, I don't. I wouldn't trade some higher meaning for life for ghosts. I don't need that in my life. I'm happy believing it's just cradle to grave and you do what you like in between. Because I'm fucking edgelord.
No, I just mean, like you said, like something spooks you in a dark room and you go, it's Dracula. Your brain just goes there for no reason.
Yeah.
Loads of the people that go to psychics want to believe that it's possible.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
that's half the target audience of most psychics are the people who would pay like £120 for a psychic reading. It's a pretty easy sell.
But the thing is that, like, a lot of the time people do this and enlist the services of mediums and stuff and pay through the nose. And they don't think about the fact that when their uncle or auntie was alive, they wouldn't have paid £200 to see them, They wouldn't even buy a train fare, so just leave it.
Have more family Christmases. You don't really need the psychic. Just kind of talk to everyone while they're alive.
If they're on their way out, manipulate them into telling you all their secrets prior to the passing so you know when the money is kept.
Exactly.
If you didn't do that, you weren't forward thinking enough.
Yeah,
You
life
don't deserve
hack,
it.
talk to your family.
Obviously, if you never knew a particular family member, then I'd recommend Ancestry.com. But,
And don't disturb their rest. Hello, Auntie Carol.
Fuck off.
I hated you when I was alive, and I hate you now.
Remember me, you're not quite as rich as your side of the family, nephew. Do you have any dollar?
It's like, finally, you think that you don't have to worry about this stuff anymore.
We don't know that. The pharaohs of old, they made it pretty clear that what you've got with you, what you're buried with, is what you get to spend. So all these people in their little coffins nowadays arrive and they're like penniless, and Ramesses II is still lording over all of them because he's got the dollar. He's like, oh, how many servants were you buried with? Oh, he's buried in a small wooden coffin. He's like, nothing. Nothing but a nice suit. Give that to me. No, don't bully me. Give that to me. You'll be naked forever.
All the Vikings do get buried with all the weapons. Like,
yeah.
Might as well fight. Now we're here.
Ready, yeah.
I imagine it's like being a low-level player in an open-world game and spawning in a game like, in a PvP server. You spawn, like, naked, confused at the layout of the map, what's going on, and some Viking who's been doing this for 800 years just charges past you, just decapitates you, and it's like, ha 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 ha, noob, and runs off again. And everyone's already got their established bases, like these old pharaohs who've accrued their servants they had sealed in their tomb with them, got a clan name, sitting there with their piles of money.
I was going to say, you just spend ages grinding up at the lower tiers to join a clan. Whose clan did you join? I joined the Jade Emperor. You seem to have it going on.
Yeah.
I imagine it must be really frustrating being dead, if there is an afterlife. It's like being on holiday and having that constant anxiety that you've got work to do. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, gotta go to work, and then you're like, oh, no, I'm dead.
Only you, Val, would pass the mortal coil, experience death itself. On the other side of that veil would go, but I've got work to do. I should feel anxious about that.
That's Val's special version of hell, is having that feeling when you wake up at 10 in the morning, you're like, I should be at work, and then you realise it's your day off.
Yeah, you realise you're dead. You remember that car that came out of nowhere and the fact you got splattered, and you're like, oh yeah, no one is expecting me to turn up to work. They are aware of my demise. The thing is,
in James' setup with the afterlife, you do have work to do, because you got to go
conquer the territories.
You got to join a clan or hide in a bush until those group of Viking marauders roam off again.
Anyway, before we stray too far from the subject at hand, which was, in fact, Houdini's 91 minutes in a coffin underwater, we are going to move on to an equally interesting event from the same decade, which is in the 1930s, a body was discovered from S.A. Andre's balloon polar expedition of 1897. So in 1930s, they found a frozen body without a head. Basically, the aim of this expedition
was to return with your head.
Yes.
Someone failed in that endeavour.
Someone failed to communicate that and lost their head.
Wait, so someone tried to take a balloon over the Arctic?
Yes. So the aim was to cross over the North Pole in 43 hours in a hydrogen balloon and then journey onto land. I mean, it does seem ridiculous now, but this was, the age of polar exploration where they couldn't fathom any other way to do it, considering that it is frozen on the North Pole. You can't really traverse it by boat very easily. It was actually supported by Swedish King Oscar II and Alfred Nobel.
Kings are notorious for knowing what they're talking about.
Always savvy spenders.
I mean, a hydrogen balloon was like the height of engineering invention at that time.
It was also the Hindenburg.
Very excited.
Yeah. I'm the King of Sweden. I know how to cross the North Pole. Have you done it? Not personally.
I'm king of a cold country. I know my shit.
I think being in that position of power, you often feel probably removed from the cares of the common man. I think
they're designed to survive. It'd be so much bloody easier to manipulate these fools if they stopped valuing their lives.
So I think he probably heard about this desire to, cross over the North Pole and the hydrogen balloon, and when those two ideas were together, he was like, yes, I know this, have my money, yes, write it down, I was the one, I was a part of this, I hold value.
Because this is the mid-19th century?
1897,
yeah.
It's got late 19th century. This is like an uber time for international monarchical dick measuring. Considering you've got the British have their empire and the Germans have the impressive army and the French, they've always been French, and the Russians have all the country. It's like, what can I do with Sweden? It's going to put Sweden on the map. Your Majesty, Sweden's already on the map, but more on the map!
More on the map. People will stop calling us Balloon Boyz. No, but you are right. That is the era with dick measuring.
I really want to tell you about how they discovered the body, but first let's talk about what happened beforehand and how this operation, which obviously by itself sounds like it was bound to be a success, was a massive failure. They had to take about a year to prepare for this trip. During that year, they had to build a 5-story house to house this hydrogen balloon because there was no space for it. So Andre, the man whose name was kind of on the balloon itself, if you will, he was 43 years old and he had no experience in doing this kind of thing
Jolly good.
before. He actually...
He spelled balloon with one O.
He could have been French.
He saw his first hydrogen balloon in a Chicago fair, and the moment he saw that, he's been desperately trying to weave it into his life and be like, I want to be the balloon boy.
You see, back in the day, not to go for the standard like rounds of, back in olden days it was harder, but I feel like back in the day some fads were just harder to manage. These days it's like a diet. But I mean, it's tough to go on, but it's financially manageable and you can fit it in your house. That cannot be said of, you know what's really cool these days and I want to get into? Hydrogen ballooning.
Your crush sending correspondence to Arthur B. Dashing, the Zeppelin commander, and you're like, I need a Zeppelin to bring in a compete.
So Andre obviously didn't go by himself. Like I said, he didn't have a huge amount of experience of this whole ballooning thing. But he did bring with him a 23-year-old assistant physics professor.
Did he have any experience with the balloons?
No, and a 27-year-old civil engineer.
Any balloon
To
experience?
be fair,
Probably not.
Oh,
physicists are that scientific group that tends to think because they know the maths, they know the thing.
Well, I've studied the mechanics of a thermodynamic engine, but can you change spark plugs? No.
I understand why the balloon is in the air, though. Okay, but can you help keep it there if something's to go wrong? Absolutely not.
I'm quite honest, I'm having trouble not panicking right now.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and bash those two wooden cars against one another and calculate the distance, because they are...
So, loads of excitement.
No
Hydrogen balloons
experience.
ready. 3 lads who have no fucking idea what they're doing.
All excitement. Zero experience. It's the Balloon Boys.
Balloon Boyz.
No, stop calling us that!
The Balloon Boyz are about to set off. The moment they set off, all of their drag ropes and the ballast sand is thrown overboard.
Blue Boy!
They-
Blue Boy! Just like throw it off.
They have objectively no means by which to steer this ship.
And this happened
Immediately.
Like, we're talking minute one.
As they set off, you could see the ropes were trailing in the water as they were departing. And at this point, it seems like everybody was just like, oh, that was a really stupid idea, because the sentence says, that was the last anyone heard or saw of the trio for more than 30 years. It's like everybody looked at it and went, fuck. That was really dumb of us. And they all turned around and left. There was no attempts to retrieve them. It was just like...
You're telling me...
So the King of Sweden and all
King
his
of Sweden
entourage.
down on the dock, watching the Balloon Boy set off, and then watches this thing essentially rain down ballast sand, ropes dragging off, and goes, this is an absolutely appalling idea. Let's all just forget it happened.
Also, like, which of the Balloon Boys was just like, we don't need this, right?
Sand is for the desert! Just threw it off.
So, 30 years later, a Norwegian Bradvag expedition found remains on White Island of a headless body disturbed by polar bears propped up against a rock. Imagine how terrifying that would be to discover. You're having your little expedition as fucking headless balloon boys sitting there.
I like to imagine on a couch made of sandbags.
Further investigations by journalists after the discovery of the body led to them finding the other 2 balloon boys.
Their heads on. They didn't, in their wild excitement, decide they no longer needed heads.
Their heads were on, as were the diaries that they kept throughout the journey, as well as a camera that was with them, and 93 negatives that were developed of their tragic
There's
journey.
a lot more negative in this journey than 93. Like, day 1 of balloon expedition. Some fucking idiot.
One of the other 2...
I'm not saying any names.
Threw all the ballast sand off the side, whooping as they went. I've concluded that I'm surrounded by the dumbest people
In Sweden.
ever to live.
Through reading these diary entries, they were trying to piece together what was the final thing that fucked them over.
Like, how did they end up being so moronic?
What catastrophe was when they went, alright, we are going to die at this point? Because it's the kind of thing where you are at home base, you drop all your ballast sand, the ropes stop working, you go, we can no longer steer our vessel. And you just go, onwards! Would you not be like, listen, I know it's a bit of embarrassment, but let's just start again. It's like,
We're not too far away.
If that happened in the middle of the pole,
Just keep going.
you'd be like, we can't turn back now, because obviously we can't move the ship, because we genuinely can't turn back. But to just go, let's just keep going.
It must be a generational mindset. Because you've got to remember, this is about the same generation which produces the officer corps. Just like, those machine guns are doing an awful lot of damage to our men. Have them walk at them slowly again. It'll get them this time.
The Germans will become tired of mowing down our men like dogs, and simply feel bad for us and allow us to take their trench.
So it turns out it wasn't just the British and the Germans and the French who had this kind of pig-headed mindset. It infected all the late Victorians.
Through reading Balloon Master's diary,
Biggest balloon boy.
the biggest balloon boy, they found that he wrote that at first the balloon kept bumping against the ice and more sand had to be thrown off. I don't know what they were thinking.
Wait, was it going like 1 foot above the ground?
Like, so
Was the guy who got his head cut off because a polar bear just jumped up and bit it?
3 days into their expedition, the balloon had gotten so low they were able to walk off it. And at this point, they travelled 517 miles with 300 miles to go to the pole. So credit where credit's due, they did travel some distance. They took a week to pack their sledges before setting off.
So they couldn't even balloon all the way.
No.
Then it doesn't count, does it? Balloon Boys. The whole point was that you were going to...
They were trying
The boys were going to balloon.
So I think what their plan was is that they were going to go pick up their supplies from Franz Joseph's land in Russia, where they had the remaining supplies to continue on with the rest of the journey. But the team only ended up further west on the drifting ice, and no matter what ground they covered, the injuries and the hardship of the climate started to properly take place. The Balloon Boys were not looking good. The civil engineer... The civil balloon boy started to suffer from snow blindness, and by the end of July, he and Andre both had the runs and were taking huge amounts of opium. By the 17th of September...
The Balloon Boys were getting messed up, is what you're saying. They were
on top. By the 17th of September, a civil balloon boy tried an attempt to set up camp on the ice, where they built a ice house, only for it to be destroyed when their ice floe broke up. So they basically built it...
On sea ice.
And it broke apart.
I can literally just imagine if I was in that expedition, what are you doing with all the opium, James? I'm going to get so utterly high, I either die...
Or I don't feel it as the polar bear eats me.
They finally reached White Island, where their bodies were discovered in October. Andre's last diary entry is the 8th of October, and the largely unpacked state of their camp implies they died not long after this. What actually killed them, though, remains probably the biggest mystery and the subject of a number of competing theories.
Okay, I have a theory. Absolutely untethered stupidity.
It's a balloon joke.
Yeah, that for me is the blanket explanation for the deaths of these three men. Yes,
The root cause.
The root cause is well, it's being a little balloon boy, isn't it? That's what the cause of death was. That's why I'd write balloon boy.
But the thing is, when you think about the fact that they set off at the start of July and they only died in October, and considering they were planning to make the crossover in 43 hours, I don't imagine they had
less than 2 days.
I don't imagine they had more supplies than that with them. And considering they only died in October, it just goes to say, I've got to give them the old...
I objectly refuse to salute any of the Balloon Boys' endeavours here.
You've got to appreciate that it's only going to take us 2 days,
go
guys,
to the
but
pub.
we're going to pack at least 2 months' worth of opium.
To be sure.
Every polar expedition packs excess supplies.
But this was pointed out as being an exceptionally long time that they survived, considering the supplies they had. And because of this reason, there are loads of competing theories about what it was that actually ended up doing them in. Because it wasn't as simple as they ran out of supplies, because they didn't.
Yeah, someone's head did come off.
Someone's head did come off, but...
Which doesn't tend to happen with starvation.
So the main theory, much like what happened in the Terror, is botulism. So that's poisoning from tin cans. Vitamin A poisoning from eating polar bear liver. Although in the diaries they've said that you can't eat polar bear liver. So they managed to kill polar bears.
They're guns.
Yeah, I know, but they're balloon boys. I just thought...
Yeah, to be fair, I think if someone was to put that Fight Night advert out, be like, 3 balloon boys versus 1 polar bear, I'd be like, that's a tough call.
They shot and killed several polar bears, but they knew not to eat their livers. And then the last one is that there was like a murder-suicide pact through opium or gunshot wounds.
Again, where'd the head come off?
The suggestion is that the polar bear took it off.
Oh, they ate the head.
Because the body was disturbed by polar bears.
Ah.
It wasn't like the body was like, ugh, and then some polar bears were
Why
like,
would you
ugh.
just eat the head, though? Polar bears are massive scavengers. They'll eat everything. Maybe ate the bit of Balloon Boy head and was like, this is Balloon Boy.
Not much in it. I had a thought, because you mentioned the Terror. I don't know the official in the expedition, but it's the 2 ships, the Erebus and Terror, tried to find the Northwest Passage.
Was that before the Balloon Boys expedition?
Yeah, it was probably about 40, 30 years before. But I was thinking, at least in that expedition, because it's 2 Royal Navy ships, about 100 guys, things don't get so personal, the blame. I think especially if you're just an able seaman, well, we're hungry, I guess the officers are to blame. When it's 3 guys in a balloon basket, I imagine that got personal really quickly.
Yeah.
Because there's only you've literally got other people to blame.
Well, whose fault is it? You! Because you kicked all the sand off!
See, they shouldn't have taken Anakin on the balloon.
Yeah. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
But, surprisingly, their diaries actually suggest that their spirits were never low enough to
That'd be the
kill
opium.
themselves or blame one another. And perhaps it was sheer physical or mental exhaustion that was the true cause of their death. They survived for 3 months in the Arctic, most of it on ice, for which they were only partially prepared.
Fair play to the little Balloon Boys.
So their remains were brought to Stockholm and they had a grand procession where they were held as national heroes. So Balloon Boys...
Before being lifted into the sky by balloons.
It's quite impressive. Because even like modern Arctic expeditions, which obviously still work around a fairly small team, when you prep for them, one of the things that gets said is, you will, at some point in this journey, come to really, truly hate at least one other member of the crew because you've just seen no one else for so long and you're so tired and it's very stressful. And part of that, your mental readiness is being able to carry on working with that person, because if you just roll with the hatred, you become a Sith Lord and then you kill them in the Arctic.
So, be a Balloon Boy in spirit, not in aptitude. Be a Balloon Boy in spirit.
Yeah, there are some admirable things, like they were very personable from the sounds of things. They were willing to give it a good college try. Maybe be more accepting of sand in your day-to-day life. Yeah. And smoke opium.
Yeah, that's probably why they were so chill, Val. They're all on opium. They're all flipping high as kites on opiates. No wonder they weren't like, I hate Harold. They were there like, I don't remember anyone's name.
Lying there in a blizzard, like, there are so many patterns in the snow.
I love you.
I love that the civil Balloon Boy gets mentioned quite a lot, as does Andre. What was Physicist doing?
I would like to see his diary, because I imagine the other two are the ones getting high all the time and throwing sand all over the place. It's all like, for fuck's sake, guys, we're going to die.
He's like, guys, I figured it out. If we just keep this... Oh, no. That was the sand that was supposed to save us.
Oh, I'm going back to the cars.
Don't touch that compass, we need that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man, we're going north, we don't need that. Just throws it into the sea.
Look, the sun rises in the north here, I think. We just go towards the sun. We go where the sand falls.
Where the wind takes us.
Those were our stories from the 5th of August, but I felt like I stumbled across a true gem, because just a day forward, we've got the first marketing campaign that was ever invented, and it was Beecham's pills. If you are familiar with the name Beecham, they still exist as a pharmaceutical provider, but this is their roots, the roots that they don't want to tell you about. They were the first company to have an advertising slogan, and their slogan was Beecham's pills, worth a guinea a box. A guinea, of course, being the name of English currency at the time, which was quite a lot.
Yeah, it works, it's pence, shillings, pounds, but a guinea is an amount of shillings.
Obviously, they were sold for a fraction of that price, but the notion that they could be worth a guinea was the thing that kind of sold them. So, in fact, in 1912, the British Medical Association investigated the pills to be like, are they actually worth a guinea? Is the company Beecham selling themselves short by wasting all these materials and selling it for a fraction of the price? Absolutely not, because what it was actually made of, the pill is made of 40% aloe, like aloe vera.
Aloe.
Aloe.
45% ginger and 15% powdered soap. So not even
good quality chalk.
Not even chalk. But this failed to shake the faith of the British public in these incredibly miraculous pills, which were considered to be a cure-all for any ailment. Although they were originally marketed as pills to help with constipation, I believe, they suddenly became the cure for smallpox. Smallpox.
What a large poke. So are you a poke with the thumb or the little finger?
With the ring finger and smaller and inferior. The inferior fingers, as we refer to them.
The left side of one's hand.
The kind of poke that is more likely to inflict damage upon the poker than the pokey.
Just to give you an idea of what a genius of a man could be behind these miraculous pills.
Yeah.
He was a snake oil merchant who basically sat out around towns making his fortune selling these fake treatments.
He didn't put that on his CV, did he? Jeff Beecham, snake oil merchant.
I've been around town selling bollocks to stupid people. Like you, good citizen.
He developed
Me?
You, yes, come forward, idiot.
His interest in pharmaceuticals came from the fact that he
Good
tended
name,
animals.
I like how you
with
said
herbs,
interest, not
expertise.
Just his interest.
Ability.
We've established this is the century of just trying a hand at anything.
Yeah.
You have any experience making pharmaceuticals? No, but I'm going to try. Any experience flying balloons? No, but I'm going to take one over the North Pole.
Okay, let's go. I like it. 19th century was just the go-get-'em century. Where people were like, you know what, let's climb a mountain. No one's ever come down alive, and you're not a mountaineer. Let's go!
But I've got a lot of Sherpas.
Thomas Beecham, like I said, was like maybe a little bit experienced as a veterinarian in the sense that he gave herbs to animals.
Wouldn't you love that if someone's like, my experience as a vet has told me that I can make you medicines. And you're like, okay, what did you do as a vet? I put animals to sleep.
So he gave herbs to animals.
Yeah.
Did he know if they were beneficial, or was he just going through a spice rack like some thyme, Bessie?
Yeah. The
Rosemary?
cumin really did not help the dog's diarrhea. Yeah, we've learned something today. Don't give them cumin.
Next week,
like that.
coriander.
So it started off as a laxative, and then as Thomas Beecham became more and more confident in his ability to sell shit to people, he was like, okay, new slogan, worth a guinea a box, cool. How can I take this campaign and raise it on another level? And he was like, you know what? Every advertising campaign needs a poet. So he hires this guy called William McGonagall. And William McGonagall's role in this was to, sing praise to this incredible product. I don't have the product with me, but I do have this poem, which hopefully will give you the experience of this cure-all laxative.
Cure-all laxative.
Shit the smallpox right out of it.
The problem is that your illness is held in the colon with the shit. Out with the shit, out with the disease.
I mean,
I have a lung infection. Out with the disease. Did you not see the diagram?
Well, to be fair, that's something that we still do. We have companies that advertise on Instagram, and they're like cleansers.
Don't get me wrong, there are some things you need purgative, which basically sort of make you either vomit or shit what's in your system.
Yeah.
Usually it's alright for food poisoning,
Yeah.
I think. And a lot of toxins that are ingested can be, if you get there quickly enough, you can treat the purgative before it gets into the bloodstream. You just kind of yak it up.
Same reason why you yak up when you're too drunk, because your stomach detects that there's too much alcohol to process and will vomit it out.
But half of what Gwyneth Paltrow sells is modern day snake oil.
Glad to see someone's keeping the tradition alive. Like Gwyneth Paltrow rocking up into a village square and be like, idiots, one and all, come. But she does that over the internet, doesn't she? It's nowhere near as fun.
Yeah, no
You
horse
don't get
and
the
cart.
wagon,
Because what she's selling...
She just rocks up with
in
a banner
essence-
page on her Instagram and goes, buy my new crystal water, it cures your insides of all the
No,
ailments.
because what she's selling isn't promise of medical improvement. She's not selling you something that's going to cure cancer. What she's selling you are feelings. For example, she sells you this powder. It's called a sex powder. And it's basically glitter and smellies. And then you rub it on yourself and it's supposed to make you feel sexy. Or she sells these eggs that you put inside your vagine. And its role is to make you just enjoy the fact that this was not something to do with sex or something to menstrual cycle. This was just something that you did for yourself just to be like, oh, I've got an egg.
Do you have
in
a
me.
craving to put things in your vagina but you don't like sex or menstruating? I've got the egg for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I use any
When it's-
regular old egg? No!
That's why she
Paltrow
can't.
branded eggs.
That's why she can't really be sued for it, because she's not selling you
not selling you
a
a
cure.
cure. Yeah.
She's selling
Well,
you
in
a
America,
feeling.
they can genuinely, like, say in the UK, there are laws against essentially fraudulent claims about medicinal properties. In fact, every medicine ad has to start with a disclaimer being like, this is a medical product, blah, 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 blah. And they have to be straight to the point, laboratory tested results. Oh, this cough medicine has this test and has done this. In America, which I didn't know, they don't have any such laws. So
Yeah.
you get companies being like, buy our new jumbo juice, it cures death.
Yeah,
Transcend
it's
with
actually
us.
one of the biggest fillers of TV ad slots is pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, and they are just bollocks.
We instead have insurance, which they don't have quite as much on their TV. I found, I was watching loads of pharmaceutical commercials and not as many. Have you been bullied at work?
Has someone called you stinkface? Well, that's now illegal. Sue them to the ground.
Have you forgot to claim your PPI?
You fucking idiot.
Those adverts
You
definitely
dribbling idiot.
don't exist.
You complete moron.
Okay, going back to
Oh
poetry.
yeah, back to Thomas Beecham, the original, well, not the original snake oil merchant, but a successful one.
A successful one indeed.
Yeah, as we still buy his product in the shops.
So Thomas decides he needs a poet. And he doesn't just get any poet. He gets probably the worst poet of that time.
Did he have that outside his door?
Probably the worst poet you'll ever read.
His public performances had been banned in Edinburgh because of the chaos that always followed. Because
How's
people
that bad?
people would throw dead fish at him. That's how much the shows were. So going back to what I promised you guys, I promised to read you this beautiful poem.
Yay.
As I cannot attempt a Scottish accent, and I do
I
not
like
wish
how
to
you're like,
invite...
he's the worst poet that ever lived, but I know you guys want to hear it.
I know...
I'm excited for it.
I don't wish to invite dead fish to begin throwing themselves at me as I'm reading the song.
I'm
Poem
saying-
so dangerous you can only read it through the power of the internet.
So I'm going to read it to you in my normal
So
voice.
listeners, go fetch a dead fish and prepare to slap your whatever you're listening on with a dead fish. It's the only way you'll feel better.
Here we go. What ho! Sickly people of high and low degree, I pray you all be warned by me. No matter what may be your bodily ills, the safest and quickest cure is Beecham's pills. They are admitted to be worth a guinea a box, for bilious and nervous disorders, also smallpox, and dizziness and drowsiness, and also cold chills, and for such diseases nothing else can equal Beecham's pills. They have been proven by thousands that have tried them, so that people cannot them condemn. Be advised by me, one and all, is the advice of poet McGonagall.
Little bit of self-advertising.
Yeah, it was
thrown in.
like DJ Khaled.
The man who has dead fish thrown at him for his poetry feels the
Approves.
need to include a
I
shout
approve
out
this
to
message.
himself, which really just shows you that SoundCloud rapping is not unique.
No. And despite or because of McGonagall's poem, the pills continued to be the bestsellers for the company until the 1950s. And mind you, that makes like a century of success, essentially. Shy of a century. But what happened was that Beecham himself opened a factory with his son, and they ended up selling the business to a gentleman called Philip Hill in 1924. So Beecham's Pills were no longer Beecham's Pills, and the company was really popular.
And he didn't take the opportunity to change it to Hill's Pills. That pisses me off.
I think because the people who were in charge of the factory knew what was in the pills, they didn't want to take any of the blame.
Good point.
And they had quite enough rhyming done to them already.
Exactly. So Philip Hill purchased the Beecham factory, and under his leadership, the company started serving more of a marketing role because they were the first to come up with slogans. Loads of products came to them and looked for marketing work. So Lucozade, McLean's toothpaste, Ribena, they all went through Beecham's company for their slogans and their initial advertising campaigns. And then it was purchased by a different company that thereby changed the recipe of the pills, and they eventually became merged with GlaxoSmithKline. So you could say that GlaxoSmithKline started from snake oil.
I'm sure they'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, GlaxoSmithKline. And they've continued that proud tradition by selling duff drugs to Africa. So well done, GlaxoSmithKline.
But selling good drugs to me.
Yes. May you burn in the deepest orifices of hell.
Who me?
No, not you, GlaxoSmithKline. I mean, you can if you want. I mean, it's an open invitation.
Since making the pills, they've obviously gone on to actually make pharmaceuticals that were effective.
Congratulations to
Good
them.
for them. They make a number of vaccines for hepatitis A and B and amoxicillin and things like that. And that was the story of Beecham's Pills, a pill to cure all ills. And with that, we're moving on to Famous Facts. Famous Facts is a segment where I take the day we're recording on and find out little bits of information about the famous people that were born on this day. Famous, of course, being a very vague term used to describe people who are lucky enough to have Wikipedia pages, or unlucky enough. So I find the facts about each individual and I ask you to match the person with the fact, thereby famous facts.
You don't find the individuals. Don't hunt them down and be like...
In some cases it's impossible for they're already dead. Like in the case of our first contender, who was born in 79 or 78 BC. Her name was Tullia, and she was the first child and only daughter of the Roman orator and politician Marcus Tullius Cicero. We've got 1862, Joseph Carey Merrick, an Englishman with a very severe face and body deformity who was exhibited at a freak show as the Elephant Man. We've got 1930, Neil Alden Armstrong, American astronaut and aeronautical engineer who was the first person to walk on the moon. He was also a naval aviator, test pilot and university professor. We've got 1952, Louis Walsh, Irish entertainment manager and former judge on the British television talent show called The X Factor. And lastly, we've got 1970, James Gunn, American filmmaker, actor, novelist and musician. So here we are, here's our lineup. I would say that of the 5 today is the rare day when you probably know 4 of the 5.
Yeah.
Usually I tend to go for people who are from different countries, different professions. These ones typically people who are in the public eye for entertainment purposes or political purposes. Okay, so let's get on to our facts. So this person began their career by posting a notice in the paper that garnered 300 responses. Is it Talia?
Yeah, that way.
Chiseled it on the forum walls.
Is it Joseph Merrick, Neil Armstrong, Louis Walsh, or James Gunn?
I'm going to go with Louis Walsh.
See, I agree, because obviously, like you said, like Talia, before newspapers. And I also mentioned Neil Armstrong didn't get his job by putting an advertisement up.
Help me get to space. 300 likes. And NASA has to respond.
So yeah, I agree. Louis Walsh.
Okay.
Because we all know James Gunn uses Twitter and nothing else.
Because I knew that the people we're talking about today are people you would know. I've kind of focused on their life before fame. So a lot of it focuses on what jobs they held in the past. So first job of this individual was rolling cigars. Is it Louis Walsh, James Gunn, Neil Armstrong, Joseph Merrick, or Talia?
I think it might be Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong. I think it might be the kind of thing where when he was a boy, he worked for his dad rolling cigars.
So, yeah, which part of America is he from?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I wouldn't be able to tell you even if I knew.
For the sake of variety, I would say James Gunn.
This person was cited as the reason for the divorce of their parents. Is it James Gunn, Louis Walsh, Joseph Merrick, Neil Armstrong, or Talia?
Some cruel part of me wants to say it was the Elephant Man.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be the Elephant Man.
Okay, so you've both gone for
Joseph
Merrick. This person lost a part of their finger in an accident. Is it Talia, Joseph Merrick, Neil Armstrong, Louis Walsh, or James Gunn?
I would say Neil Armstrong. Worked in engineering, lots of things going
machines,
chunk,
yeah.
chunk,
I
chunk.
think I'm going to say James Gunn.
Okay. And lastly, we've got this person who has worked as a hospital orderly,
Well, I was wrong.
a bar musician, and a quarry worker.
So all of that, Cicero's daughter.
Well, that's what I'm left with.
We're left with.
God damn it. It's always the way with famous facts.
Yeah.
To get to the end, you're like,
You don't get to see all of them before you...
Yeah, and then you get to the last couple, and you're like, there's no way that I have any of these right.
Well,
yeah, whereas you said that with like Pope Francis worked in a strip joint. I was like, not true at all.
I think we're yet to have an episode where, upon hearing the fact, you go, aha, I knew that it was this person.
For example, did you know, not on there, but Joseph Merrick, big fan of those traditional sticky buns.
Loved sticky buns.
The guy who kind of tried to help him, come to terms with who he was and have a bit more self-confidence would use a kind of reward system. So every time he did well in essentially a therapy session, well done, Joseph, have a button.
Well, I know very little about Cicero's daughter. I do know a lot about Cicero, though. And his hands were nailed to the Senate doors after he was assassinated, not during. That would have been something. Mark Antony should have really upped his game then and had his hands nailed to the walls as he was being assassinated. But,
Up your
it's reasons like this is why Mark Antony obviously lost. He had his hands nailed to the walls of the Senate because he used to write a lot of defamatory works on Mark Antony's character and how decadent and un-Roman he was and all these kind of things, which, not without merit. He was pretty decadent. One of the first things he demanded when him and Octavian formed the second triumvirate was the death of Cicero, who was actually at the time was allied with Octavian. And Octavian was like, cool, yeah, we'll do it. And Cicero realised he had been played, probably right about the time when the assassins came to his house. So yeah, but I don't know a lot about his daughter. But I imagine her life wasn't the happiest.
So am I fair to say that you aren't too confident in your responses for today's
I think
famous facts?
Started
I would be
confidently,
surprised.
rapidly lost
I'd be
faith.
surprised if I got 0. However, I'm not at all suspecting I got 4 or 5.
Okay, so our first fact was that this person began their career by posting a notice in the paper that garnered 300 responses. You have both answered Louis Walsh, and you are correct.
Yay.
That is actually the story of how the band Boyzone came to be. What he really wanted to do was he wanted to create the Irish version of Take That, and that's what he wrote in the paper, and then 300 people responded to him, and then he held auditions and settled on the group that came to be known as Boyzone. But interesting fact about it is that at the time of their founding, although Louis Walsh was able to get them a spot on national television, at this point they didn't actually have a song, so they auditioned with a cover of a song, which they couldn't play on TV. So instead, he got them to dance to some instrumental music, which caused the people around the world to laugh and laugh and laugh. But it did achieve his goal, which was to get the name Boyzone into people's minds.
What a sadistic, cutthroat little Irishman.
No press
You look at him
is
like,
worse than bad
like
press.
a cheery face, Louis Walsh, behind that scheming
He
mind of
unleashed
Machiavelli.
Jedward. He's evil.
Got a fact about Louis Walsh. He recently came under fire because a video from an interview with him and the cast of The X Factor resurfaced online, where he was seated next to the musician Mel B, and
Kept trying to touch her.
he threw his arm over the back of the chair and then let it fall lower still and squeezed her ass twice, with an expression like he didn't think that she was going to do anything about it.
She like,
Turned
stood
around
up and
was like, "What are you doing, Louis? This is terribly unprofessional." And basically people have been like, what a creep, and good on her for like standing up to that kind of stuff, because when you're on TV you're so anxious that you don't want to draw any unnecessary attention to yourself. But yeah, Louis Walsh.
Silly man for squeezing the bum of Scary Spice and not expecting a response.
Fact number 2 was that this person's first job was rolling cigarettes. You have gone for Neil Armstrong and you have gone for Joseph.
James Gunn. Yeah.
But it was in fact Joseph Merrick. That was his first job. He rolled cigarettes until his hands became further affected by his disease and he was no longer able to do such a intricate work. Yeah. His employment career was actually really difficult because of his condition, not because of the way that he looked, but he couldn't secure work at factories because he just wasn't strong enough, or he didn't have enough precision in his fingers. He was living in a workhouse when he heard about a gentleman who put on these freak shows, and he wrote to him and he was like, "Come have a look at me and maybe you can exhibit me." He contacted him and the guy met with him and decided that it could be quite a profitable endeavour. But at the time, Victorian society were kind of falling out of love with these freak shows. They thought of them as being immoral and causing quite a lot of chaos amongst the public, because people would be standing outside, people would be aghast to see this thing. And so he stopped earning as much money in the UK. So they decided to send him to Europe. Throughout his work in the UK, his plan was that he wanted to save enough money to buy a house for himself. And at this point, he had saved £50, which was a lot of money. It was about 1,000, maybe something. And he'd been working just to be able to have a place of his own where nobody would bother him, because obviously due to his looks, he was the subject of a lot of bullying, and it was difficult for him to communicate for himself because the protrusions on his lip became bigger and bigger and required surgery, so it was very difficult to understand him. So he was quite a lonely person, and by the time they went to Europe, his new manager turned on him and robbed him and left him to fend for himself in Belgium, looking the way he does. He was able to secure passage on a boat back to England, and he had nothing on him other than the visitor card from a surgeon who became interested in him when they were still displaying themselves in the UK. Picked him up, paid for his passage back to the hospital, and had been looking after him ever since. Before, people used to think that he was rather stupid because of the way that he looked. People assumed that he didn't get much education, didn't have anything interesting to say. But as the doctor worked more with him, they became good friends. I think Princess Alexandra came to visit him and she gave him a flower and a letter, and he used to really love collecting letters from people. He was a very sentimental person, really enjoyed reading. But a really sad thing about him was how he died. He died at the age of 27. And although the official cause of his death was asphyxia, Treves, who was the surgeon and who performed the autopsy on the body, said that Merrick had died of a dislocated neck. And he believed that Merrick, who had to sleep sitting up because of the size of his head, had been attempting to sleep lying down like other people, because he was found lying down in bed.
Yeah, he had to propped up, otherwise he couldn't breathe.
This person was cited as the reason for the divorce of their parents, and you guys have both gone for Joseph Merrick, but it was in fact to Leah, because Cicero loved her so dearly that when he remarried, his wife basically gave him an ultimatum and said, "It's me or your daughter," and he was like, "Fuck you," and chose the daughter. And there was a really interesting story about Talia. Apparently in the 15th century, a tomb was discovered in Rome that was identified as Talia's burial place, and reports of the discovery claimed that the corpse inside looked like it had been buried that very day. She wasn't decomposed in any way, and the lamp that was in there with her was still alight. So that image of the ever-burning lantern was used in poetry later on and things like that.
I'm sure very accurate and true.
Very accurate and true, of course.
No, the pristine Roman body is, of course, still a famous landmark to this day.
This person lost a part of their finger in an accident. Whoever went for Neil Armstrong, you're correct.
Yes.
Well done, Jonah. You're on 2, James, you're on 1.
What was the accident?
He was working on a tractor. When he returned back home, he basically was accused of living a life of recluse because he wasn't participating in so many interviews, and he was basically living in the country where he used to live before. And he was working on a tractor and he got his finger trapped in one of them. It obviously plopped down on the floor. He grabbed it and on ice, quickly went to the hospital, reattached it, didn't he?
Nice. So he didn't actually lose any of his finger. It's a false fact. He didn't lose any finger.
They had to cut off some of the tissue. And I've got a fun fact about Neil Armstrong. So he used to autograph everything except for first day covers, which are these postcards. Around 1993, he found out that his signatures were being sold online and most of them were forgeries, so he stopped autographing altogether. In the early 1980s, Armstrong was subject of a hoax saying that he converted to Islam after hearing the Adhan, the Muslim call to prayer, while walking on the moon. And there was a song about it in Jakarta that was incredibly popular for ages, basically believing that Neil Armstrong was Muslim.
He heard it walking on the moon.
According to the Quran, a lot of the moon's not there. There's a passage where Muhammad grasps his sword and he jumps on the flying horse and he flies to the moon and he cuts it, leaving it in the crescent shape. And then he flew all the way to Jerusalem.
What was the rest of the moon?
None of your business, James.
Okay. I mean, I don't know why that's the question I have about the jumping on a flying horse and cutting it off in the first place. Yeah, that's why they say the moon is made of cheese, because of how easily Muhammad carved it.
Yeah, in fact, some people say he didn't take a scimitar at all, he took a cheese knife.
Yeah.
And that's why people believe it's a hologram, because they've had to fill in the rest of the moon.
Fill in the uneaten part.
Yeah, science was like, for fuck's sakes, Muhammad, we've got a cover for you now.
Yeah. Science is always covering for Muhammad.
And that means we're at fact number 5. So this person worked as a hospital orderly, bar musician, and quarry worker, and that was, of course, James Gunn, because he's the one on the left. James Gunn made movie 43, which I feel like not a lot of people remember and punish him for, because movie 43 was hot shit.
James Gunn also made the Scooby-Doo live-action film. Not enough people bring him up on that either. So
while he was working as a hospital orderly, he spent 5 years writing this book. I'm not sure if it got made into anything, but basically because he hated the job that he had, that's what he was doing. Also, an interesting fact about his directing style. So if you did something on set that had particularly pleased him, he would present you with a brand new box of Play-Doh, just to say, good job, keep at it.
Wait,
because all his actors are like 3 or 4 years old, and like the Play-Doh is the shit for them.
Who doesn't like Play-Doh though? When was the last time you played with Play-Doh?
People
Tell me you were miserable.
died in Play-Doh related accidents.
Yeah, I mean, if your parents were at a Play-Doh factory and
It
one
blew
of the
up.
vats exploded and
And they got propelled through one of the star-cutting shapes, and
nasty.
nasty way to go.
And that was Famous Facts, which means it is now time for Debatable. What is Debatable, Jonah?
It's really simple. It's I don't know why I started in such a stupid voice.
Sure, simple, really.
I come up with a topic which I think needs discussing for the good of humanity, and I get you guys to think about it for me, so that at dinner parties I can repackage all the ideas I liked as mine.
Perfect.
Saul has gone fucked off, hasn't he?
So you are bound to have less well-rounded opinions.
Yeah.
So, what better way to celebrate the return of Debatable by not giving the reigning champion a chance to defend his title?
Well,
and
if you
therefore...
think about it, it's like this quarterfinals.
This is the silver medal, bronze
Qualifying.
No.
We're
So you're only
qualifying
playing
to
for
fight.
gold medals.
He didn't qualify by not being here. It's not my fault.
Now, no one's saying that there was foul play and that Saul was deliberately kept away from the competition, but that might have happened. I thought I would first clarify that because Saul's not here, we can be somewhat frivolous in allowing ourselves 2 minutes
Ooh, 2 whole minutes.
for cases made, for rebuttaling, and for summing
Closing
up.
statements.
The question today: why do we value art? A lot of what we value is because it's got gold in it, or it took a long time. Sometimes, as I'm sure will come up, Jackson Pollock just has a seizure while covered in paint.
Yes.
So the two stances, and I'm going to ask you to be slightly counterintuitive here. Val, I would like you to argue in favour that art should only be valued if it demonstrates a technical proficiency.
Okay.
And James, I would like you to argue that art is valuable because it makes us feel something.
Completely the opposite arguments that James and I usually hold.
So Val, you have 2 minutes to make the case for why art is only valuable if it demonstrates a remarkable level of technical skill, starting now.
Well, the reason I believe that art is only valuable for its demonstration of technical proficiency is because a lot of the institutions that currently exist in order to assess its value work on the idea that this is a work that's been done by a particular author, or it will be something that is demonstrates a particular style, which again requires technical expertise. All of the institutions that teach people wanting to get into the arts teach them in technical proficiency. So really, the skill that's been put into the art should be what the piece of art is judged by, because that's what we teach people to make art. It allows for a more stable way of measuring what is valuable and what isn't.
Would you say it'd be more objective measure?
Yeah. For something that varies so massively across styles, it's important that we are able to recognise skill from chance. Another reason why it should be valued by the skill is the fact that it gives us an opportunity to have that scale be transferable across different styles and different countries and different consumers and different ages and generations when this thing was made. And that's why it's the best way of measuring art.
Yeah.
Well
That
done,
was
Pat.
awful.
Very bad at wearing my skin.
James, 2 minutes to make the case on why art is only valid if it makes us feel. Starting now.
We live in a world of objective entities. Economics, maths, science are all objective. Logical and cold. Art is one of the few subjective avenues that we have as a species. Therefore, it should only be valued subjectively for its worth to the person. Because although I, personally, may look at a particular painting and feel nothing but revulsion,
Like blue poles.
someone else may look at that same painting and it may connect with them on a deep level. Art can be used as a catalyst for social interaction. That's why we have galleries. People will walk around, will experience the art separately, but also discuss it and it will bring them together. The entire process of art is about feeling. And some people feel strongly that art should have a technical aspect to it. Other people feel that it shouldn't. But both of those opinions are valid as they are both experiencing art subjectively. And it is only the feeling that they have about said art that is in turn them appreciating said art and valuing it based on their own feelings. They're not looking at a classical painter and they may say that I put my personal value in the technical craft of the time, and that is still them valuing it on feelings. So that is why I think art should be valued on feeling alone. That technical aspects, as you are right, teaching does come into it, but it is only teaching you how to have the tools to express yourself and to make others feel through your art.
There we are. Sides set out. James just argues. Val, do you want to have the opening shot in the rebuttal?
Sure.
So, starting now, so 4 minutes.
Whilst I don't disagree that emotion is a massive part of art, if emotion was the only thing that drove art, we would have a larger range of tools being used to convey said emotion. And yet people tend to go for similar things. And so when I say we should be judging it by the skill that's gone into it, I'm not discussing judging the ability to shade a certain bit, but we're talking about how somebody's skill was used to convey an emotion. Judging a painting by its skill is not me saying emotion comes into it, not at all. Like, would you not say that skill is infinitely important in art? Otherwise, how do you distinguish one thing from another?
No.
Is EastEnders as good a drama as Leftovers?
Not in my opinion, but it is more watched. The point is that you valuing skill and what you value, your assessment of skill in art is just feeling, hidden. It's how you feel towards it. It's a person taking a personal belief that you need a certain degree of skill to make art. There are people out there who disagree, who would look at a pile, a dirty, unmade bed, and say that is art.
No, but I'm not.
Because
I'm not
that is
contesting
not is not paint on canvas. That is someone taking what a lot of people leave in their room as it is and simply displaying it to the world.
But surely it requires a huge amount of skill to be able to display it that way and make it look as organic as possible. When you discuss these galleries where people walk around, what do they discuss? They discuss skill, not how that makes them feel. When people look at
don't.
Mona Lisa, they don't go, oh, it really makes me feel like I need to go to the bathroom. They go, what an incredible piece of work that survived the ages due to the expertise put in by this artist.
I disagree.
The composition.
There is a way to look at it when you are valuing the skill and the technique of the artist. But fundamentally, at its core, art is about feeling, not skill. It's about walking, and say, for example, even something as technical as a portrait. People would commission these portraits from a bygone era to immortalise themselves. That is a feeling.
But it's about resemblance at the end of the day.
It is about resemblance, but it's not the reason. Nobody bought the portrait for the technical skill of the artist. They bought that to have
What
themselves
are you-
remembered,
What
to
do you-
have a feeling of them remembered. The skill is important, yes, but it is the overlying.
But
it's
how
not,
do you select the artist that is going to do your portrait?
But we're not
you
talking-
choose the
no,
artist
Val,
because
you
of
are
the
driving-
resemblance they're able to make.
You are driving the conversation into a degree of artists, not art itself. What I'm arguing, you're missing my point, is that people make portraits of themselves not to go, that's the best, resembles me the best and perfectly, that's all I want it for. They do it so others will remember them, which is inherently a feeling and a fear of being forgotten that they are combating. Cut to the modern
Fear
era.
that it's combated through a great level of skill from an artist that produces
It
this
is.
piece of work. You're not going to choose someone who's shit at painting to do your portrait. Why? Not because it makes you feel like you don't want to be remembered like a shit piece of work. It's because you want an accurate resemblance, or in other cases, you want a resemblance that will accentuate.
And what is that
certain...
desire for a good resemblance but a feeling? A feeling that you want to be encapsulated.
No, it's an
as well.
expectation of skill.
No, it's an expectation of skills. That's a tool. That's just an artist's tool. We're talking about art itself, and it is driven entirely by feeling, not skill. So, for example, as I've said, even the most technical of paintings are entirely emotionally driven. That is the reason for their existence. It is not. They're not created for.
The only emotion
the
that
sake of
drives the
skill.
art you're talking about is the desire to have money.
Right, well, that's interesting. I almost lost track of the time. I was engaged in that debate. But having heard various counter-arguments, it's now, of course, time for you to hopefully maybe synthesise something and come up with a renewed case in a minute sum up.
The reason that art should be valued on the skill that went into it is because it has always been the deciding reason for why we choose a particular artist to create an art or particular artwork over another. It's because we are impressed by the resemblance or its portrayal of emotion through technical skill. And that is the reason why many foundations that we currently use to assess the value of things come from skill. We have auction houses that measure how well something fits within a certain style. We have schools that teach students to recognise certain periods of work, and if that wasn't valuable, then that wouldn't be a part of knowing art. A part of knowing art and understanding its value is understanding the technical skill that goes into it, and that is why that's the most important thing about enjoying art.
Fair enough. 1 minute to give us a final word on why feeling is more important.
As Val has slightly said, some people do. You have auction houses, galleries, assessors who value art based on skill, but not just skill. These assessors will also base it on their personal opinions and how each piece makes them feel. Because, yes, people appraise skill in the art community, but everyone in the art community truly appraises art based on how it makes them feel, on the feelings the art conveys. Some, as I've said, look for the technical skill behind the piece because that technical skill makes them feel a certain way. What I'm arguing is that yes, you can undeniably look at the skill of the artist, but how much stock you put on the value of the skill of the artist, the style of the skill of the artist, the worth of the piece, comes entirely down to your personal feelings. Therefore, art is always valued on feeling, and feeling alone, even if it masquerades as something as petty as skill.
And there we are. I suppose now it falls to me, as usual, to select a winner. The choice much simplified, but being a 50-50 split. I think it was close. I think Val, you were faltering to begin with, but you came into your argument, certainly pressing the attack when it came to the open debate. James, I have to say your decorum was much improved.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Very well-mannered case, well put, very calmly argued. I'm going to give it to James. I think Val, you made a good case, but I think it was in places inflexible. I think James had a slightly better, kind of took some of your arguments and
Yeah, I agree.
captured them. So I think this one goes to James.
Way!
And all the decorum is gone. To pull
Congratulations,
faces.
James. You're back
Congratulations,
in the game,
Val.
wearing your lizard-like skin when discussing what's important in art was rather difficult. I'm glad you enjoyed my warm pelt.
That was the thing. I looked at Val and I thought to myself, I will be able to put on your skin a lot easier than you'll be able to put on mine. And she knew it. We met eye to eye, and she thought to herself, he's going to just trounce around in my skin suit, acting like me, and I won't be able to do the same. But you did. It just took you a little while to get used to the bit more roominess of James' skin.
So that was debatable. Well done, James. Can't guarantee it'll be around next time. It's not the most consistent of segments. That is entirely my fault. But hey ho, we'll see.
Sometimes Jonah has the patience to listen to us bicker, and sometimes he'd rather not. So we've got a new segment.
Yeah, speaking of inconsistency, there is a new segment that has maybe I'd say evolved from the spawning pools of late shift behind the scenes content.
Thrashing like Uruks.
Yeah. Angry, lurching to try and kill another segment so it has room to live. But today's segment I have inventively named Google Review. And
Not sponsored.
not
One
sponsored.
day, but not now.
Oh, to be sponsored by Google, righteous overlords. No. So in Google Reviews,
Just have to give them the blood.
it's a game, as all things are in this great game of life, where I have gone on to Google Maps and I have looked up the Google reviews for several locations.
You've sharpened your machete,
Yep.
you've summoned your Sherpas, you put on your pith helmet, and
Absolutely.
you've hacked your way
Hacked my way
through the dark nethers of the internet.
and deduced and discovered, should I say, some tasty reviews of certain landmarks that may surprise you. It is your job to simply guess which location this review is referring to.
Landmarks like global landmarks?
Famous places around London.
Okay.
So I will read out the review and I will give it the star rating the person left behind, and you have to deduce what they are referring to, the location they are talking about.
Okay.
So we'll start off relatively simple and we'll go further into the insanity that is people's opinions on the internet. So the first place, the review is simply, need major renovation and lighting could improve. 2 out of 5. What do you think this person is reviewing?
It strikes me as something an old building, something historical. If it were the Shard and they said needs renovation, but I feel like this got to be something historical.
Yeah, and also the fact that it's like 2 out of 5 stars implies that this person was somewhat underwhelmed by the experience of being in this place.
Yeah.
It was something that had to be seen, clearly because they said the lighting isn't
Yeah.
very good.
My thinking is Tower London. Because you look at it from the outside, very impressive. Old though, crumbling.
Yeah.
Like you say, underwhelming because it's just castle
Maybe
really.
Houses of Parliament.
That is a bit decrepit.
So what should we go for? I'll go
different-
Houses of Parliament,
I'll go
House of
Tower
Lords, or
London.
whatever it's called.
Palace of Westminster.
And Jonah, you're going for...
Tower London.
Yep.
You are both incorrect. It was Leicester Square Tube Station.
For some reason, I actually thought it was going to be like an underground station.
So, on to our next
Oh my god.
review. A slightly more scathing.
That was the first one?
That was the first
That was the
one.
easy one.
Reviewing a tube station, right.
Long wait and hit or miss experience with the staff mood / attitude. Would avoid TBH. 1 star.
Staff?
I think it's a McDonald's
There's no
or a
like
Subway.
landmark McDonald's though.
These are
Oh, landmarks.
these are kind of serious locations in London.
Hit and miss with staff moods.
Staff mood / attitude.
See, so it's not horse guards because those guys are pretty consistent in their mood, just stoic.
Yeah, where do you have to line up for ages in London?
Lots of places, most places.
But you have to deal with staff as part of your experience. Usually things like, say, Buckingham Palace, you kind of wander around by yourself. You
Yeah,
don't
it's something that requires a chaperone of sorts or a restaurant.
Would
I
you like me
think
to
like
read
maybe
it
a
again?
restaurant at the
Just to
Shard.
remind you.
Go, let's have it again.
Long wait and hit or miss experience with the staff mood / attitude. Would avoid TBH. 1 star.
Could it be? Might be a bit out there. Lantern Dungeon. You've got to interact with the staff. There are queues sometimes,
Yeah.
and I
that's a
feel
good
like
one.
a hit and miss attitude could actually ruin your experience because they're not into selling you the spook, and it's just these these really old animatronic
Yeah, and I feel like the
skeletons.
TBH does really sell to me the kind of clientele that tends to attend the London Dungeons.
So London Dungeons?
Yeah,
London Dungeons.
we're unanimous on this one.
Incorrect. It was St. Mary's Hospital, which I loved. The idea that someone was like, would avoid, to be honest. Yeah.
The
so would
hospital?
most people. A hospital. This is our next one.
Somehow these overworked staff weren't cheerful all the time.
I don't expect you to get this one.
How do they come to this hospital often enough to know that the attitudes and mood of the staff
Well, they're not going to be going there anymore.
varies?
Well, maybe they met a lot of them in their long wait.
Are you ready for
I
this one?
don't know if I am.
I didn't go there. 1 star.
Right.
It's like some sort of nightclub. I think it's like Ministry of Sound, Elephant and Castle.
You reckon? The thing is like I didn't go there, so it's got to be something that's like people like, oh, it's part of the London experience, mate.
London Eye, maybe?
Maybe. Do you want to go Ministry of Sound? I'll say London Eye.
Yeah, why not?
Spread our bets.
Westfield, maybe. I don't know.
The Freud Museum, London.
It's not on the London experience.
It's
at
actually
all.
not a bad museum.
But I didn't go there. 1 star.
I enjoyed the Freud Museum, it was good.
This is the next one. Unprofessional staffs chewing gums whilst talking. 1 out of 5 stars.
I like to imagine that it's in an elderly home and the staff are chewing up the gums of the patients within.
It's a museum of some kind.
You think?
I reckon because they always like music for the guided tours. They always have like young undergrads or like interns who are the kind of people who might be chewing gum, and the museum is bound to attract what I presume is someone over the age of 55 who has an issue with chewing gums and talking.
I don't know, I think maybe National History Museum.
Natural
History Museum, yeah.
I want to say Science Museum.
It is the US Embassy in London.
God's sakes, why?
You know what? I can understand
Did
that.
Trump believe that review?
It's just the US Embassy London. Now we are getting into the slightly wordier ones.
Oh, the essays.
But they give more away.
Just to be clear, I am reading them exactly as they are.
Hence, staffs.
Staffs and chewing gums. I'm not illiterate. Terrible.
Right.
Worst attraction ever visited. So unorganised, still waiting 1 hour after your time slot in queues. And I think one member of staff should follow each group through, as the behaviour of people was just disgusting. Pushing and shoving, barging past a man with a wheelchair like animals. 1 star.
I want to say London Dungeon again.
I want to say London Eye.
It was Shrek Adventure.
Shrek Adventure.
There's no crowd control. It's an extortion.
We're all going to die.
They can't say no. They haven't learned to stop. They don't know when to stop. If you want to visit here on a holiday, then don't waste your time, money, energy. But if you can visit on a working day, you might deal with fewer crowd. Keep bringing more and more visitors inside, whilst there's no space to breathe inside. This doesn't comply with health and safety for kids especially. I was about to stamp 3 kids in 3 occasions. 1 star.
Like the hysteria. Like, I would say the O2.
It's something that's free.
Oh, you reckon? It could be a museum. I think a few of the museums are free.
Yeah, most of them are. London museums are free.
Paul
Thorpe
Fools
Park?
is not in London.
That's not in London, Val, but I'll take the guess. It is Sea Life London Aquarium. Now,
Oh, God.
this one you should get, I'm expecting, but I just love the wording of it. You cannot register if you are under 18, and an adult cannot sponsor a 16, 17 teenager. Knowledge kept away from the youth.
Oh, British
Very
Library.
restricted opening hours for a 21st century public institution, although they, may I add, they've done it in Roman numerals, so they've gone, knowledge kept away from the youth. Very restricted opening hours for XX1 century public institution. I'm like, again, you're trying to sound smart, but you also didn't put a capital at the start of that sentence. So congratulations. Just a group of bookworms running what should be the best library in the world. 1 star.
British Library.
British Library.
It is indeed the British Library.
It's not that bad.
Now, to be fair, there was a lot of bad reviews of a very racist guard of the British Library.
Really?
To point out, there was a narrative. I know his name. I can't say it, but he
What were
was
they
referred
saying?
to Blah and his gang of Nazis. So this guy's clearly been upsetting people.
But I never encountered that. I think you do have to get bag search whenever you go in.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot what they were talking about. You know, let's call him Darren and his Nazis who were searching people's bags.
Which is their job.
So here's the next one. I was surprised, given the almost universal praise heaped on this museum, at how bad the experience was. It may have been the fact it was a wet Sunday, or the fact
Ruins everything.
the admission was free,
That's the plebs in.
but there was no crowd control. It was impossible to view any exhibit as you were constantly jostled by heaving throngs of folks moving to their next destination. This resembled Oxford Circus the week before Christmas more than an institute of study. I would recommend the addition of a nominal entry fee, with timed entry to allow for fewer crowds. Were there an emergency in the building, people would be hurt, as there is no way it could be efficiently evacuated. 1 star.
These people are obsessed with
I'm going to go
crowd
for the
control.
welcome collection.
Welcome collection.
Institute of
It's quite
Study.
small.
Yeah.
Solid British Museum.
Jonah gets the point. It was the British Museum.
Lots of irate people who just want riot police and all
They want
tourist
fucking
attractions.
crowd control. I don't like being in public because there's public there.
Step away from the glass Timmy, you're going to get a face full of mace.
This is the penultimate.
Okay.
They are trying to be lavish, but for me, it just seems very creepy. Really trying way too hard. Not in any way fun. Plus, the cheese counter was pretty much closed down due to the rebuilding. Just go to Selfridges or John Lewis. 2 star.
Harrods.
Harrods it was. So that's Jonah 3, Val 2. This is the next.
The final.
Final one.
Dun-dun.
For the first round of Google reviews. And it is a long one. So sit in and be prepared for an epic story. Terrible and dangerous queuing system. You have an allocated time, and then they stick you in a holding pen. It was very hot and cramped,
Like
and instead
animals.
of being organised, it was a free-for-all. And the member of staff even shouted, "If you see a space, fill it!" Which then caused a crowd surge of people pushing. Jesus. Full stop. It was a mess. And very dangerous. Staff in the gallery rude too. Making up what seemed to be rules about bag sizes. One person let me in fine, and then another said I would have to check my bag. I saw people walking around with bigger bags than mine, brackets, just a satchel. And when I asked what the measurements specifically, the staff member had no idea. So many rules! No photos at all. No toilets, no kindness. Everything was ridiculously overpriced. Just as a tourist trap. Honestly, where does the profit go? Aren't we paying enough in taxes to fund this place? Gross! However, my mum enjoyed it, and I'm happy she was happy. Bryant Pavilion is way better, and you can take photos. It made me think they didn't want any more taking photos, so that they could sell more tickets. So you had to see for yourself? ? The garden was all dead too. Looked pretty scruffy, to be honest. 2 stars.
Buckingham Palace.
I agree, Buckingham Palace.
It is indeed Buckingham Palace.
Where?
So that, the first round
Oh my god.
of Google reviews concludes with, I think, 4?
Yeah.
And 3.
And 0 for Saul.
And 0 for Saul.
Doesn't know London at all.
Doesn't know London at all, Saul. I hope we enjoyed ourselves.
That was, like that last one.
No kindness.
So that concludes Google reviews.
Which means it's now time for the segment that gets left out in the rain, in the cold, as Creepypasta rages on. It stands there, face pressed against the glass. I'm creepy too. I send a chill down your spine. Conspiracy theories. And today's conspiracy theories concern none other than the cartoons and TV shows that we consumed as children. This, of course, comes from the very highly reputed The Sun, displaying articles such as, "Is Bush back? As Vogue says Bush is back. Here are the styles stars opt for downstairs," and "Going solo? Why every single girl should start masturbating," in quotation marks, "immediately," brackets, "and it's not rude."
I feel its rudeness is determined by a variety of factors. I don't personally consider it rude that there are women out there right now masturbating. However, I would consider it quite rude if I was, say, I don't know, taking an exam and was to look up and right in front of me the invigilator was there just masturbating.
Well, it said immediately, James, and if this was the time she read the article.
Excuse me, can I have a pencil? They're like, we're going to have to find it first.
And of course, the final article is "What Men Want, the Pubic Hairstyles Guys Love on Their Girlfriends Revealed."
Wait, there are 2 articles about pube shaving
Yeah.
in today's Sun.
Doesn't it just sum up the Sun, really, that the one article is about, these are the styles that are in, and then there's but these are the ones that men want, FYI.
Conspiracy theories about children's television program.
Yeah, and The Sun has very tastefully decided to display those articles about pubic hairstyles and masturbation just on the side.
Of children's TV shows.
Yeah. So
Good job, The Sun.
So the first theory is kind of vintage. This is the Smurfs are white supremacists.
Despite being blue.
Yeah,
Okay, this is a tough sell.
Is it just based on the white hats?
it is in part. According to some, the Smurfs were white supremacists. This seems to stem from the fact that they're all one colour and wear KKK-style pointy white hats, except for ringleader Papa Smurf, who prefers red.
Jeremy Corbyn, surely.
Exactly.
Might be Grand Wizard Smurf.
Yes.
While this link may be tenuous, a French political scientist, Antoine Bueno, also suggested that the dictatorial political structure of the Smurf village also hinted at racism. It has also been pointed out that when Smurfs turn black, for example, they lose their minds and become unable to talk. What do we think? Smurfs, white supremacists? They came around at the right kind of time.
They did.
Yeah,
They
where
did.
this would almost be kind of subconscious. No one would bat an eye at the slight racist undertones. I'm not saying I buy it entirely. I mean, as James pointed out, they are blue.
I feel like there's easier ways to be racist.
Well, maybe Tom and Jerry will help us out there, because
Oh!
this theory is about Tom and Jerry and Nazis. The antics of the iconic cat and mouse have also come into question by a group of theorists, and it seems that some fans think that the cartoon serves as Nazi propaganda, with Tom playing the part of the British soldiers and Jerry, their German counterpart. This is because the name Tommies was given to Brits while Germans were known as Jerrys. Because Tom is the bad guy, some have reasoned that the cartoon, which first aired in 1940, the same year as the Battle of Britain, is in favour of Nazis, especially as Jerry always outwits Tom.
Walt Disney was not a fan of the Jews.
No. Was Tom and Jerry by Disney?
Is it?
No.
No, it's is it MGM?
Yeah, I think so. But
Yeah,
no.
I'm pretty sure it's
They're all
MGM.
brothers in arms. Tom and Jerry?
A lot less convincing. So.
A
They've
lot
got
less.
names.
Yeah. Now, I personally feel like, yeah, it's an American cartoon. I don't think it would have been allowed to fly if it was so on the nose. It was Tom and Jerry,
And also, it's the kind of thing where like Tom is never particularly.
yeah, and also I
You
feel
never
like,
see him with a cup of tea.
yeah, I also feel like Tom is a grey cat. If you were going to be so overt about it, you would have made Jerry a grey.
British bulldog.
You would have made Jerry a grey mouse, and Tom like a khaki or a brown cat.
Oh,
But
bulldog.
no,
Yeah, or a bulldog. Yeah,
Not colours that appeal to children, though.
but they are the same. You would have literally reversed the colours. Tom brown, Jerry grey.
Perhaps. Let's go into the more contemporary, and the fact that Toy Story 3 is definitely an allegory for the Holocaust. Jordan Hoffman from UGO came up with the interpretation of Toy Story 3 that points out parallels with the Holocaust. He wrote, Andy is 17 and about to leave for college. These toys are left behind, just as host nations left behind the Jews as the Third Reich conquered Europe. Woody holds a meeting where the assembled toy family discusses possible outcomes for their new position in the world. Change a few words and it's this exact same scene at the train station from Roman Polanski's award-winning Holocaust drama, The Pianist. He adds that the toys themselves find themselves trapped in the boot of a car, which could be symbolic for a concentration camp, and that the toys eventually find a new homeland.
The bit where this guy's like, and the host nations in Europe left the Jews behind, makes it sound like when the Wehrmacht entered Poland, there were no Poles to be found except Jewish Poles.
Or the implication that we weren't trying. That in 1939, war hadn't been declared, and we were actively seeking to defeat Germany. Like the idea that, like, oh, let's just leave them to it for a bit, and see what happens. We were at war with them. That's why we call it World War II.
And also it makes it sound like the Wehrmacht was like, well, it's just left all these Jewish people lying around, we've got to put them somewhere.
Yeah.
This one is about the Flintstones and the fact that they're actually living in an apocalyptic future rather than a distant past.
Alright, where did the dinosaurs come from?
No, but to be fair, where did the dinosaurs come from in the Flintstones anyway? Because they're prehistoric man. They shouldn't be anywhere near dinosaurs.
I granted, but when you take two infeasible situations, the more feasible one is the one where you've gone dinosaurs, humans,
Yeah.
rather than dinosaurs, humans, dinosaurs again.
But what about this? Dinosaurs, humans. Humans destroy humans. Big lizards. Big radioactive lizards.
Apply radiation to any reptile.
It becomes Godzilla.
Yeah, it's kaiju.
Exactly. Basically, this comes from a theory proposed by the Nerdist about the 1987 crossover TV movie where Flintstones met the Jetsons, thanks to a time machine built by the latter, which led to the Stone Age family living in the future. So apparently in the strange new future, some sort of apocalyptic event has occurred, leading to a new world where any surviving animals get a fresh start, without humans. The theory goes, when humans returned, they were able to use animals to drive technology and attempt to rebuild whatever was left. Mind blown?
No.
Decidedly underwhelmed.
Okay, this one I love.
Mind deflated.
This one I love. I mean, this was pretty much the only reason I picked up this article. Postman Pat fathered all of the kids in town.
I love it. Yes.
Fucking play it.
So the
He
theory...
turns up, the man of the house has gone out to work. Just, puts more than letters to the letterbox.
He leans in close. He says, "It's not just my nose that's big. Panties hit the floor like lead balloons."
He's got a cat.
He has a cat.
This
This wouldn't be the first pussy I've stroked. Why does he sound like James Bond now? Pinning up women against the wall and being like, "I have a gun." Which is, of course, James Bond's flirting.
Maybe that is.
I have a gun with a silencer on it. Please don't. I'll hurt you if you don't. He doesn't know to fit. James Bond isn't crass enough to say the threat.
It's the
of violence.
implied.
The implied violence is much more what
more effective.
Maybe Pat did threaten. Maybe these were all rape babies.
Pat is the only redhead adult in Greendale, and yet there are bushels of this ginger kids.
his spawn.
Spawn. They're his. They're always his.
God, he's cucked so many blokes.
He has,
They must all.
and they don't suspect it. Redhead's gone around, is it, Pat? And he's like, "Yeah, it fucking is. Yeah, it fucking is. I've been in your missus." What was that, Pat? Have a good day.
This one I think everybody's heard is that Winnie the Pooh has a psychological disorder.
Christopher Robin, not Winnie the Pooh.
No, this is different. So the Canadian Medical Association diagnosed all of the characters of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, with varying psychological
Yeah, so
disorders. Pooh
Eeyore, surprisingly
depression.
to all, has depression.
has ADHD.
Pooh
for
has
Tigger.
OCD, and Piglet has an anxiety disorder. Meanwhile, other issues represented include the owl being dyslexic and Tigger having ADHD. Perhaps even more strangely, human character Christopher Robin is deemed as apparently being schizophrenic. With all the animals just being a figment of his imagination. Apparently, Winnie the Pooh was originally named after a girl. Some say that it might have been a remnant in Robin's mind of his sister, who
he ate.
he ate in the womb.
Christopher, you killed me. What was that? What was that? You killed me in the womb, Christopher. You devoured me. Now I devour honey to fill the void in my heart of the life you stole, Christopher. Pay me back. No.
So, if
Bloody
you
Sweden,
choose to
aren't
go
you,
out
Christopher?
and watch the film, Winnie the Pooh, now
Remember
you know.
that they're all made up like a sick boy who grew up into a sick man. I don't know if he's been medicated in the film yet. He might be medicated.
I think looking at the kind of time period it's set in, I don't think they're.
No,
right.
I'd like to imagine that it's going to be like A Beautiful Mind, where the wife's like, "There are no animals, Christopher." And he's, the hollow he's been putting all the correspondence in is just filled with like rotten letters from a lifetime of just delusion. Paul Bettany's there
Again,
just like, "I'm not real."
Winnie's there like, "We gotta kill him. The US government said so."
Yeah, you are a trained assassin, Christopher, and if you don't stop the Reds, he like leans in. No one will.
All their time wandering about in the woods.
Yeah. Khrushchev's gotta die, Christopher.
It's already dead, Pooh. Christopher Robin is the man on the grassy knoll because Winnie the Pooh told him to.
Yeah, that's who he is. Christopher, pull the trigger. I don't want to pull the trigger right now.
Kenji's gotta die.
Kill that commie son of a bitch. What is this world? We all know that Eeyore would be the full guy. He'd happily do it. Yeah, I'll say I did it if they kill me.
I like it. The man's got threat.
Bear's got threat.
This old spy master bear.
Yeah.
Like,
Tinker, Tailor, Soldier,
Honeypot.
Spy.
He's the master of the honeypot.
He is.
KGB hired him. He had to flee the
That's
US.
why he wears a red shirt. He's pretty much laughing in our faces as he just displays his
He was a
allegiance to the
KGB
CCCP.
agent in the CIA
Yeah.
who they got to do the job on Kennedy.
Yeah, it's like the CIA being like, "What do you mean you're gonna just go off with any little piglet that shows you a bit of flesh? I thought she liked me, man. It was a he."
Piglet's obviously too
You
nervous
did a
to say
good job,
otherwise.
Piglet. Gives him some money, like, "You did a good job for the Soviet Union." Now we know the motor carriage route.
And that was Conspiracy Theories. I hope you're adequately spooked. I hope your minds are blown. You'll never be able to watch children's TV again.
I wouldn't say spooked, inspired though.
Yeah.
There are so many leads to follow. I need my red string.
I love My personal favourite is the
Postman Pat, of
fathered
course.
all the children of the town. I love that one.
Do you think it's more like he's some kind of cult leader in a kind of Wicker Man sense?
Yeah.
Like Jonestown.
Jonestown, but he wanted to be the postman. Like,
Well, think about it. He gets to go around everyone's houses. He gets to make sure they're following.
oh, that's true.
You're not seeing. That's just for the outside world. They're like, well, why? Well, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I need a reason to be around everyone's house every morning, so of course I'm
Oh
the
my God,
postman.
that's so dark.
But really, I am Grandmaster Pat, and I father all the spawn of this
Yeah.
farm.
We're down in the sewers worshipping some Lovecraftian deity.
Do you think it's like the Lord's right? Like he
Well, the first night.
first night,
Yeah. It's like,
Everyone that gets married, he gets to have sex with their wife.
And it's just so virile.
Yeah.
maybe it won't take. It will take. Pat's always takes.
The cat watches.
Just slaps his postman's python out on the table. So it'll take. Don't worry.
The cat is the worst part.
Cat is the avatar of Satan.
Yeah, it's like Black Phillip. Like he talks to the cat. If Pat ever gets like assassinated, like the cat will like come and find a new person that will begin building the cult
Cat's an
again.
incubus.
Yeah, that's it. He dies and then he moves on to like Fireman Sam. Fireman Sam's there like, "Hello, little kitty." It's like the start of the Thing. Like you get the villagers driving after it in Pat's like wrecked van, shooting at it, and then like drives to Wales, and the cat's like running, and the Welsh firemen are like, "Hey, what's going on here?" They're like, "Kill the cat! It's not a cat!" And then they gun them down, and the cycle starts all over
I
again.
don't think Fireman Sam would be able to do such a thing. I think it takes a certain kind of man to be able to.
Shoot another human being. Oh, you think Sam hasn't? Sam only puts out fires because he started so many fires in Narm.
I guess at this point we should say thank you for listening to
Well done.
The Late Shift.
For getting to the end.
And now you know what Postman Pat is all about. And
Prove us wrong with Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
let us wish our good friend Saul loads of luck decrypting.
What's he doing again? Oh yeah.
Decrypting the original
Creepypasta with
Creepypasta.
Tom Hanks. I suppose Tom Hanks is the person you want to be with on that kind of expedition. You don't want to get Nicolas Cage.
He would be an erratic partner.
I'd
feel.
prefer Nick. Because don't worry, Tom would be stable and nice.
Like
You'd get on adventures with Nick.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you'd get on adventures. Like you
You
wouldn't
could
want to
steal
go.
important
You wouldn't want to go
relics.
with someone who's like,
But I feel like if you went with Nick Cage, be like Nick, come on, we've almost found the code. It's like, yeah, James, these guys say they're with the Italian mafia and they want to play cards. It sounds like fun.
yeah. Or he'd like find a McDonald's wrapper in a bin and see "Made in China" on the paper and be like, the next clue, let's go. And I would follow him. I would be there. Like I'd end up in a Vietnamese Russian roulette game. And I'd be like, how do we get here? And I'm like, I don't care. It's been a wild ride. Bang.
Nick Cage is the kind of person who plays Russian roulette with half the barrels loaded.
He plays Russian roulette with you while you're sleeping on the plane.
Yeah.
Like he's just there like, and he just puts it against your forehead. You like stir, and he's like, lucky you, James.
The rest of the cabin's just cowering. It's like, don't come close.
It's a game. It's a game. The Air Marshal's already lost the first round.
And that was The Late Shift. Thank you for
God.
listening. Have a lovely week.
We love you.
See you.
Speak to you later.
Bye.
Bye.